Okay, so this is ZOImonicon, which is a hard to pronounce name that I gave this patch. And what it is it's modeled on the Moog Subharmonicon. You have a number of rhythmic dividers that control the speed of these two sequencers. And you can apply different dividers to different sequencers. Allowing for different polyrhythms to develop, and you can apply or not apply the sequencers to these oscillators. Oscillator 1 has two sub-sequencers or sub-oscillators that can be sequenced. Oscillator 2 does not because of CPU restraints. And there's also a mixer section on this page that you can set the levels for everything. You can also just watch the different speeds of the sequencers on this page, which I think is fun. There's a filter envelope and an amp envelope, and one of the interesting features of the Subharmonicon is that the envelopes won't re-trigger while the attack stage is going on, which is a really cool feature in my opinion. I've tried to preserve that here. It's not 100% working the way I'd like, but it allows you to do some interesting rhythmic stuff on top of the rhythm dividers and sequencers. So each of the oscillators, or the first oscillator has these harmonic sub-octaves, and you can control which subharmonic it uses with that control. And these are derived from the harmonic series, and they're not quite note values, which I think is interesting and creates some really cool elements to the harmonic content of the synth. I've tried to preserve those minor variations off of cents in the subharmonic voicing, which I think Moog also did. This is the envelope stuff. I've tried to label everything, but particularly I figured this is interesting to people. This is the heart of the subdividers, and what it is a switch controlled by those divider controls on the front page. The channel is controlled by that, And what it does is that it moves a gate through these sequencers, and the sequencers have a reset input, and the output of the sequencer goes into the reset input. So basically you can determine how long each of the sequencers is, and then they have a gate on the first step. So what that does is allow the sequencers to send out they produce a gate at that step, and these are all sent to the sequencers through these switches, which are really multipliers and gates, and they're ORed at the input of the sequencers. So the sequencers here get their clock from whichever of those rhythmic dividers is being sent to them. But the rhythmic dividers don't use clock dividers, and there's a reason for that that goes beyond, people have some issues with the clock dividers not being super accurate. But there's another reason for that, which is if you're trying to OR two gates, the clock divider is essentially a square wave. So it has a high point and a low point. And if you're ORing that, then that means that a really slow clock divider is going to obscure a faster clock divider every time that it's in that high OR state. So what you want is something that is only as long as the shortest division of the clock in order to create those ORed rhythms. So there's two reasons for this. One is that this is it's super stable stuff. The sequencer does exactly what you would expect, and it doesn't drift, and there's no problem with that. But the other part is that it makes the ORing of the dividers much easier to achieve. And yeah, that's ZOImonicon. I have a Subharmonicon now. I started working on this patch before I had one, because I really wanted one, and I hadn't been at the engineering workshop in 2018. And it's it's not the same synth. The envelopes are not the same, the filter's not the same, the oscillator is not the same, but the workflow and the opportunity to create some really interesting rhythmic and melodic interplay is the same. So I'm really proud of the way that the sequencer works in this. And so that's ZOImonicon. you like it.